1 2 1 2 1 2. Alright, well, aloha there, and we should be all good. Well, as usually, I sometimes feel good. Sometimes it depends on the days. That's why it's a thing that happens. Okay, so I'm seeing that the mic actually does work, but the volume? No, I don't. So. Alrighty. Okay. So I'll refresh this. Let's see. Okay, it should be good. Alrighty. Well, what I'm not going to do this time, because I feel quite confident, is that I'm going to go back to where I left off. Going to skim through this, read through some highlights, and try to summarize it. After all, I'm pretty much almost done with this. So I figured that I'll just go through the Middle Ages by skimming parts of it, not the whole entire thing, and then read back, go through the details. I am confident but nervous, as I said before. Alrighty, Middle Ages, Christian Europe. Okay, so I'm starting to realize that when it comes to medieval Europe and the medieval times, you have a lot of things that are going on, and it's not just one particular region. Wait a second, I think I'm muffling right now. Let me see. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, in 1267, the medieval scientist Roger Bacon started the times of full moons as a number of hours, minutes, seconds, thirds, and fourths. Hora, minuta, segunda, terata, and quarta. Afternoon on specific calendar dates. Alrighty, the volume should pick up. Should be good. Alrighty, along with other things happening around Europe, then you have the Islamic calendar and other. Alrighty, so let's go to the Christian Europe, or the Christian Europe. The older calendar of saints of the Church of Rome was compiled in the mid 4th century under Pope Julius I or Pope Liberus. Then going on both pagan and Christian festivals. Christian calendar is an associated calendar of Holocaust. Okay. Oh yeah, it looks like there is much volume from my end. Let me fix this. Okay, this should be good. Yeah, that should be good. That should be good. Okay. The Anno Domini Abach is introduced in the 6th century. Later called the Golden Numbers, the Calordigan era calendar published by Luz Adarchi is entitled Insect Ore Solaris Ani Com Letters AS, along with here begins the here begins Here begins the order of the solar year with the letters placed by Saint Jerome for the purpose of finding the day of the week and the age of the moon for any day within the cycle of 19 years. That's the whole. That was the whole stick that they pretty much published, set on in Latin. The Anglo-Saxon historian Bebede or Venable used another Latin term. Yeah, this, according to the Catholic Encyclopedia. Okay. In 1944, well, no, not 19. 1422, Portugal became the last Western European country to adopt the Anno Domini system. Alright, now this is the interesting one. The Icelandic calendars was introduced in the 10th century, whilst the ancient Germanic calendars were based on the lunar months. The new Icelandic calendar introduced a purely solar reckoning, with a year having a fixed number of weeks, 52 weeks or 364 days. This necessitated the introduction of leap weeks instead of the Julian leap days. And then, yeah, you pretty much have it explained away further here, along with river calendars. Eras to Anno Domini remained in use in Christian Europe. Okay, era of the Caesars, as long as in Spain. And, you know, they have other things they follow in Portugal. So, alrighty. Should I go through here? I already got through here. I'm going to read the entire of this paragraph here, talking about what happened with the Jewish people and then the Orthodox people in Eastern Europe. For chronological purposes, the flaw of the Anno Domini system was that dates have to be reckoned backwards or forwards according as they are BC or AD, according to the Catholic Encyclopedia. In an ideally perfect system, all events would be reckoned in one sequence. The difficulty was to find a starting point whence to reckon, for the beginnings of history in which this should naturally be placed are those of which chronologically we know least. End quote. For both Christians and Jews, the prime historical date was the year of creation, or Annus Mundi. The Eastern Orthodox Church fixed the date of creation at 5509 BC. This remained on the basis of the astrological calendar in the Greek and the Russian Orthodox world until modern day times. The Coptic Church fixed on. Yeah, that's the weird thing in English when it comes to either fixing, it got fixed, or it's fixed on. 5500 BCE. Later, the Church of England under Archbishop Oster in 1650 would pick 4004 BC. Yo. Along with the pictures, the page of the May in the Bedford Postal and Hours, Miss British Library at MS, 42131, 3rd, early 15th century, yada yada yada. Along with this page of the 10th century calendar from the East Inland Abbey, 16 March to 9th April. Now, looking at the old documents being written in good old medieval Europe, then yeah, it does show that there is some written record of following the calendars, or at least noting down some particular things they should follow in each other's calendars. I gotta check about everything here. I think it should be good. But I'm still amped with the music. But honestly, it could just be how low and high the track and song they're playing. And that's just something out of my control. But what is at least my control is just how I go through all this. So since this is something new that I actually do want to try, I think the scary thing about doing something new is not knowing what to do. So I understand part of this, not entirety of this, but at least having an idea. Talking over how a medieval Europe and how they follow calendars, there's some things that are not standardized, but started becoming more standardized, especially relating to keeping a record of everything and just showing how they should count everything into one date. If if y'all need to elaborate, but yeah, the Anno Domini, the Latin system that was used for a long time, being adopted because of the Catholic Church along the rest of Europe, but there is some things that are separate that are from away from Western Europe or presence of the Roman Catholic Church. But even then, there is only just subtle differences. What about the Islamic calendar? Okay. Yeah. Mantex is all the solar. Yeah. Banking already in use. Yeah. This is pre-existing Islamic. However, that since there are traces of some stars distributed by Khali. Okay. Okay. Islamic calendar. The Islamic calendar is based on the prohibition of intercalation by Muhammad in Islamic tradition dated to the sermon held on 9 Dhul al-Hijjah AH 10th Julian date 6 March 1632. This resulted in the observational based lunar calendar shifting relative to the seasons of the solar year. Relative to the seasons of the solar year. Because the importance of this has to do with how in Islam, Muhammad, based on its calendar under its own faith of Islam. And then it correlates to something. After all, 8HS is not AD, because in Christian calendars they follow the AD of their faith relating to Jesus Christ. With AH, it's referring to Muhammad and his presence into Islam. As it says, the 10th year is actually 632, which I think the retrospect is that when it comes to the Christian calendar, it has the same date as, well, the same date in historical events. I figured that when it comes to how old the calendar is from the beginning, it is more than the sum of years. Like, what is it? I think the Christian calendar was around, like, was it a few thousand years instead of like the 10,000 years before the Common Era, due to factoring so many things when it comes to the birth of the universe. I mean, that's what the modern calendar works on. But anyway, 632 AD is the same as CE for the current century, or the Common Era. So yeah, along with also around this time, this is when Islam became big in Providence. But yeah, anywho, yeah, going through this, yeah, it talks about how different rulers and stuff follow this. This calendar is a lunar calendar, as its new year did not coincide with the solar agricultural cycles. Yeah, referring to results of some changes because of practicality, depending on what regions you are. Yeah, some sources recommend a new calendar combining the lunar Islamic calendar and solar Hindu calendar already in use. So combining which way in order for it being practical. This is around the Middle Ages, so around the medieval times, and this is a standardization they start realizing because following calendars and stuff, it's pretty good to have everything standardized. Yeah, according here was a blend of pre-existing Hindu and Islam calendars. Yeah, there are traces of particular in the survival of the Bengali calendar. So historians attribute the Bengali calendar to the 7th century Hindu king Shashnaka. Alrighty. Now we have other. Oh wait, I forgot about. Just making sure there's any pictures here. There's no pictures. There's the seals one, but going back, yeah, it talks about how when it comes to the Islamic calendar, obviously they have a new base calendar. Let me position here. Oh, it's tilting. But yeah, they have a new base calendar because of the prominence of Islam and other places around there. After all, when it comes to India, the area of Bengal, they have to change it because some of the rulers realize let's make it more standard and practical with our other calendars, the tribute, but they still follow the basic tenets of, well, the date is referring to or corresponding to the AH, then the AD, because yeah, Christianity, Jesus Christ is, well, Jesus of Nazareth, who later becomes Jesus Christ, is important. And then you had the Prophet Muhammad, or the leader before he became a prophet, being important figures to the faith. And that's what makes a big difference between, what is it, Christian Europe and Islamic Asia. Other. Alright. Mouse. Okay. This talks a little bit of it during the Middle Ages. Let me skim through this. The uses when it comes to China dynasty, when it comes to the tropical year. Reconstructed. Burglars and reconstruct the fifth. Okay, so it really does talk more just about what's going on with China and how their rulers deal with it during the medieval times. Other. The ancient Taochu calendar of China was refined in the medieval period. The Damini calendar was created. The Liang dynasty of Zhou Shangxi introduced the, was it just equinox? Equinox. No, I can't even pronounce it. Equinox. The use of the Xings to determine the lunar month was first described in the Tang Dynasty Wonyang calendar, which is just the Tiger Opsh calendar, along with just following them doing it. Use spherical trigonometry to find the length of the tropical year. Here's a calculation that deals with it. Identical to the Gregorian calendar. A number of the epochal calendars are reconstructed to medieval Europe. Yeah. In this case, with the pre-Christian Germanic calendar and the reconstruction of the 5th century, nominally of the Bulgarian Khans, is a short text which is presumably to contain the number of earlier regular rulers, including the chimes of joyful and cycle. Oh, okay, so this is just referring to their deeds in a written form, like a record. Not a ballad, but just a record of what they have done. What is it? What's equivalent to a long-served ballad in China during the medieval eras? Because for medieval Europe, there is the feudal ballads, but yeah, maybe they actually do call it ballads or something that's related to it, and they just mention that to people, whatever. But that's something I didn't quite know. But overall, this talks about how in China they had changes of different calendars. Some of them actually updated, not just for it being practical, but also be more accurate. And depending on who you talk to, they actually are very similar to the European, to the modern standard calendars. But also just to think that this is also just comparing how, when it says that everything is listed, is that this is a pre-Christian Germanic calendar as well as with the Bulgarian calendar. It has some commonalities, some differences. It means that overall, in the end, there is some similarities but some differences, but not because there's a direct influence. It could also just be a comparison because this wiki page, is referring to how some of these calendars are made. Part of the history. And part of that history shows that many of these calendars, there's just so many of them that this is just hitting one of the big types, but doesn't talk about the whole history of everything. Other than a few things that are common when looking at what was it? Yeah, the Christian, Islamic, and other sections for the medieval times, Middle Ages times, that era, that place, that location, that time period, whatever. What is it? There's also the Dark Ages because of the Black Death, which didn't just impact Europe; it affected a lot of places. But yeah, and it just goes to show how some things tend to follow just because it's just practical. It's just easy. Have a calendar that follows some historical custom in that region, you'll tend to see a trend, which that's the case with India having a big insurgence of Islam, but still following some calendars just because it's by not royal decree, but by leadership rules from whoever's ruling around that time. Now there's Mesoamerica. Let's see. Okay, I already have this left. So let's go with Mesoamerica. Yeah, it's quite complex. I know there's a bunch of words here, and a lot of the reasons why. 2 cycles. Oh, it's actually comparing. I should make some more about it. Okay, so there is. What is it? They tried to actually compare part of it, like they did before, but it shows how it's so complex that it even has to describe how the calendars work, and that. Yeah, how it's meaningful to them. But there's not many links here. What the hell? Well. Mesoamerica. Yeah, of all of the ancient calendar systems, the Maya and the other Mesoamerican systems are the most complex. The Mayan calendar has 2 years, the 260 days sacred round, Tuscan 365-day vague year or Hab. Then it displays more things like you'll have the 26 days. It's called the sacred round, but let's just say 26 days just to simplify it. Has 2 smaller cycles, the number 1 through 13, coupled with 20 different days names. These are the days names that are just highlighted here in blue. The sacred round was used to determine the important activities related to the gods and humans. Name individuals, predicted the future, deciding auspicious dates for battles, marriages, and so on. The 2 cycles of 13 and 20 intermesh are repeated without interruption. The cycle would begin with 1 Ingamish, then 2 Ik, then 3 Akbal, and so on until the number 13 was reached. So when it comes to go with the cycle, referring to the 26-day one. And then, yeah, they have other rules where it tends to reset and stuff. The cycle ends after 26 days, with the last day being 13th Awal. So this calendar is not just not just a yearly calendar. It doesn't just present big dates in a yearly calendar. It can also work as a monthly and a weekly calendar, where it's quite important. I mean, it's like saying that the day of the Sunday of every time it sets in the calendar is important day because it's being a holy. I mean, what is it? Year calendars in Christianity is not that specific. That's just something that everybody just has to remember in heart, or have other people in the community that rely on. For this one, it just seems like it is very important to actually have it in record. Like, this is the day of a Sunday. Might as well record every Sunday from that with, when it comes to doing a battle, doing a sacrifice, doing a marriage. That's just a oversimplification of what I'm saying. Now, you have the vague year of 365 days. Is similar to the modern Gregorian calendar, which, yeah, that pretty much is surprising. Consisting of 18 months of 20 days each, with an unlucky 5-day period at the end of vague year, had to do primarily with season agriculture and was based on the solar cycle. The 18th Maya months are known in order as, yeah, Popio, Zip, Zoltz, Zichek. Yeah, I'm butchering this. There's Mac. I think I'm even pronouncing it wrong. It'd be something else. The unlucky 5-day period was known as, was it Yulub? Was considered a time which could hold danger, death, and bad luck. So, yeah, similar to, I keep on thinking like Friday the 13th, where was it? From what I remember, there was a bunch of calendars that had one of these bad days, cause similar to Friday the 13th. But from what I understand, that happens very rarely in modern day calendars, or that any days that are not good to do anything like straight up bad. Because what is, I think Black Friday the 13th is not strictly a very bad omen day. Some people end up celebrating it, but it depends on how you put your faith in, even when it comes to your custom religion you're raised on. But yeah, for them, they're at least consider this as one part. But just know, the unlucky 5-day period, what's known as the Yoba, was considered the time that could hold danger. It means that it happens consistently a lot. I mean, this goes to show how, when it comes to recording it, it is so important. The fact that you have this unlucky day, and then you have all these dates that are micromanaged with so many different names, because it does put an importance of someone's predetermined destiny that's going to happen that day, or when it comes to the universe conspiring to put the environment where people are, especially the followers, into a joyous or harmful time, just to make sure that what they follow is to the teeth. If you don't believe in the calendar and end up dying in one of the bad days where you most likely die, it just goes to show that you're supposed to follow this part of faith. If you don't, it's a life or death scenario. And to keep things in line. So the vague year began with the month of Pop. Yeah, 20 years always begin with the city of the month, along with following to the number 1 to 19th. Yeah, all the way through 9th Pop. And so on. The 2 seconds coincide every 52 years. The 52-year period of time, called a bundle, was similar to the modern day century. Going to show how it does recycle. Now you also have the modern calendars right here. Hebrew, Julian, Zoroastrian, the Islamic calendar, French, and so on and so forth. But yeah, modern calendars. While the Gregorian calendar is now in worldwide use for circular purposes, various medieval ancient calendars remain original use for religious and social purposes, including the Julian calendar, the Hebrew calendar, the Islamic calendar, various Hindu calendars, and Zoroastrian calendars, etc. There are various modern calendars that are limited use, either created for the religious new movements, regionalist and nationalist movements, and you pretty much have all these listed. And that is for that. It just goes to show how some of these calendars, even how old they are still in some use because of social customs, because of history, and also because of what you follow. I still have other wikis, but I at least finished with this one. So, well, looking at the time, I just have to say aloha.